The Silent Ascension. The first time humanity encountered the galactic community, we were met with mockery, not open hostility. That would have been preferable. At least hostility acknowledges respect. No, the three dominant species of the galactic consortium, the amorphous Valari, the crystalline Xelith, and the hive-minded Morcana, regarded humans with the patronizing amusement one might show a child playing with blocks while the adults discussed quantum physics. Captain Rowan Chen stood on the observation deck of the United Earth ship Defiance, watching the distant lights of the consortium's orbital platform around Jupiter. It had been 15 years since first contact. 15 years of humanity scrambling to catch up, begging for scraps of technology, and being systematically pushed to the fringes of our own solar system. "Status report," Chen said, not turning from the viewport. Lieutenant Amara Okafor's voice came through clearly. "All systems nominal, Captain. The Darkfold drive is operating at 98% efficiency. Engineering reports they can push it to full capacity on your command." Chen nodded, finally turning to face his executive officer. "And the fleet?" "The other 11 ships report ready. They're maintaining position behind Ganymede, outside consortium scanning range. 12 ships against a galactic power spanning 3 species and hundreds of worlds. On paper, it was suicide. But paper didn't account for human ingenuity when backed into a corner." "Very well," Chen said. "Inform Admiral Takahashi. We'll be ready to execute in 30 minutes." The consortium's dismissal of humanity had been their first mistake. When human scientists presented their initial warp theory, the Valari ambassador had literally oozed with amusement, their gelatinous form rippling with what passed for laughter among their kind. "Charming," the ambassador had said to the United Nations Assembly. "They still believe in disrupting space-time with brute force, like watching cavemen try to invent the wheel." The Xelith representative had been even more cutting. "Your species would be better served focusing on more achievable goals. Perhaps we can help you improve your agricultural yields or extend your pitiful lifespans." 3 years ago, humanity stopped sharing their research. The consortium didn't notice, or didn't care. After all, what could these primitive apes possibly develop that would be of interest? The Darkfold drive was the answer. Not a warp drive, not a jump gate, but something entirely different, something that folded dimensions rather than traversing them. The theoretical principles had been there all along, hidden in humanity's own physics research, overlooked by the aliens because it didn't follow their established scientific paradigms. 5 minutes to departure, Captain, Lieutenant Okafor reported. Chen took his command chair on the bridge of the Defiance. Around him, the crew worked with quiet intensity. They all knew what was at stake. 6 months ago, the consortium had imposed crippling sanctions on Earth's nascent colonies on Mars and Europa, claiming environmental protection concerns. In reality, it was a calculated move to keep humanity contained. 2 months ago, they had begun systematically stripping resources from the asteroid belt, ignoring Earth's formal protests. "Open channel to the fleet," Chen ordered. On the main screen, 11 other captains appeared, each commanding identical vessels, Earth's first true warships, built in secret facilities inside the moon and equipped with technology the consortium couldn't imagine. "Operation Thunderclap commences in 3 minutes," Chen said. "Remember your assignments. Hit your targets simultaneously, maintain communication blackout until Phase 1 is complete, and rendezvous at the designated coordinates. The future of our species depends on the next 24 hours. Admiral Takahashi's weathered face filled the central portion of the screen. "Captain Chen, as commander of our most advanced vessel, you have the most critical target. The consortium's central command platform must be neutralized with minimal casualties. We're not barbarians. We're simply demanding the respect we deserve." Chen nodded. "The Defiance will complete its mission, Admiral." As the final countdown began, Chen thought about humanity's journey to this point. How quickly we had gone from celebrating first contact to realizing we were viewed as nothing more than primitive curiosities, destined to be sidelined in our own solar system. Darkfold drive engaged, announced the ship's eye. Unlike conventional drives, there was no vibration, no sense of movement. Only a momentary sensation of reality compressing around them, as if the universe itself had hiccuped. And then the Defiance was no longer behind Jupiter's moon. It had simply ceased to exist in that location and reappeared exactly 3.4 meters from the consortium's command platform, well inside their defensive perimeter. On the platform's bridge, Supreme Commander Velthor of the Teleth turned all three of his crystalline sensory arrays toward the sudden alert. The commander's facets caught the emergency lights, sending prismatic reflections across the command center. "Impossible," he said, the word formed by vibrations in his crystalline structure. "Nothing could penetrate our defensive grid." Yet there it was on the display, a human vessel, materializing not at the system's edge where it could be easily intercepted, but directly alongside their command platform. "They're using some form of dimensional transportation," his science officer reported, the crystal beam structure vibrating with alarm. "It doesn't match any known technology in the consortium database." Velthora had barely processed these words when the Defiance fired. Not the crude nuclear or kinetic weapons the consortium had expected from humans, but targeted gravitational pulses that shattered the platform's weapon arrays without breaching the hull. Throughout the solar system, the scene repeated itself. Human warships appearing inside defensive perimeters, neutralizing consortium vessels and installations with surgical precision. The careful technological superiority the three species had maintained meant nothing when humanity's ships could simply bypass conventional space. On the Defiance's bridge, Chen watched the tactical display as reports flooded in. The Intrepid had disabled the Valari monitoring stations around Mars. The Dauntless had neutralized the resource harvesters in the asteroid belt. The Resolute had secured the jump gate near Neptune, cutting off the consortium's reinforcements. All primary targets neutralized, Lieutenant Okafor reported, unable to keep the note of triumph from her voice. "Minimal casualties on both sides, Captain. Mostly automated systems and unoccupied facilities." Chen nodded. "Open a channel to Supreme Commander Velthora." When the connection established, Chen didn't gloat or threaten. He simply said, "The sanctions end now. Our colonies will be restored. A new agreement will be negotiated, as equals." For the first time in recorded history, Axelith was speechless. Supreme Commander Velthora's crystalline form vibrated with what humans would recognize as shock. "Your species has committed an act of war against the consortium," the commander finally said. "No," Chen replied calmly. "We've demonstrated that we will not be marginalized in our own system. The consortium has two options: recognize humanity as equals, or face the consequences of underestimating us again." As the Defiance maintained position, Chen stared at the stars visible through the viewport. Humanity had been dismissed, patronized, and threatened. Their response had changed the balance of power in the solar system in a single day, not through brutality or conquest, but through the uniquely human trait that the consortium had always dismissed: the ability to think outside established paradigms when backed against a wall. The three species of the consortium were about to learn the most important lesson about humanity: never mistake patience for weakness or ingenuity for irrelevance, especially when humanity's survival was at stake. Reckoning of the stars. The silence that followed Captain Chen's ultimatum stretched uncomfortably across the communication channel. On the main view screen, Supreme Commander Velthora's crystalline form shimmered with frequencies humans had learned to recognize as agitation. "Your primitive vessels have caught us by surprise, human," the commander finally said, each word formed by precise vibrations in his structure. "But do not mistake tactical advantage for strategic victory. The consortium spans 3 galaxies. You've merely inconvenienced an outpost." Chen exchanged a glance with Lieutenant Okafor. They had anticipated this response: the inability of the consortium to accept that humans could threaten their dominance. "I believe you misunderstand the situation, Commander," Chen replied evenly. "Operation Thunderclap wasn't limited to our solar system. On Q, Lieutenant Okafor activated a secondary display. Across it scrolled real-time reports from human ships deployed far beyond Earth's solar system. Reports that had arrived instantaneously through quantum entanglement communications, another technology the consortium had deemed theoretically interesting but practically useless when humans had first proposed it. The Vigilant had neutralized the consortium's primary shipyard orbiting Proxima Centauri. The Indomitable had disabled the Valari High Command's communication hub in the Sirius system. The Relentless had appeared inside the Morcana hive node near Taw Ceti, broadcasting a quantum-locked override signal that temporarily paralyzed their collective consciousness. With each report, Velthora's crystalline body vibrated at increasingly erratic frequencies. "Impossible," the commander whispered, the translation software barely catching the faint vibrations. "We would have detected such a widespread attack." "You can't detect what doesn't travel through conventional space," Chen said. "The Darkfold drive doesn't leave signatures for your sensors to detect. We arrive precisely where we intend, when we intend." For the first time in their interactions, Chen saw something new in that Seleth commander's posture, the crystalline equivalent of fear. "How many ships?" Velthora asked. Chen allowed himself a small smile. "Enough." In truth, humanity had constructed 48 vessels equipped with the Darkfold drive. Not an armada by consortium standards, but devastating when each ship could appear without warning inside any defense perimeter in the galaxy. "Admiral Takahashi is currently meeting with the Valari High Council," Chen continued. "Captain Rivera of the Indomitable is in negotiation with the Morcana Queen node. I'm here with you." Simultaneous discussions, Supreme Commander. "The consortium's leadership structure is, as we speak, being informed of our terms." On separate screens around the consortium command platform, emergency reports were flooding in. Across 3 galaxies, human ships had appeared at critical installations, command centers, and strategic resources. Not to destroy. That was important. Humanity wasn't waging a war of annihilation. This was a targeted demonstration of power with minimal loss of life. "The Valari defense grid is compromised," reported a junior officer, their crystalline form pulsing with panic. "The Morcana hive mind reports fragmentation and confusion. Our long-range communication network is operating at 17% capacity." Velthora's form stilled in the Seleth equivalent of resignation. "State your terms, Captain Chen." Chen had rehearsed this moment many times, knowing it would define humanity's place in the galaxy for generations to come. First, immediate cessation of all resource extraction from Earth's solar system without explicit permission from the United Earth government. Second, recognition of all human colonies as sovereign territories. Third, transfer of equitable technology exchanges, not handouts, but fair trade. Fourth, a seat on the Consortium Council with equal voting rights. Velthora vibrated in what humans had learned was laughter, though there was no humor in it. "You ask for equality with civilizations thousands of years older than your own. Age doesn't equate to wisdom, Commander," Chen replied. "If it did, you would have recognized our potential instead of dismissing it." The standoff lasted another 17 hours as the consortium leadership attempted to coordinate a response across their compromised networks. During this time, human ships maintained their positions at strategic locations throughout consortium space, a silent reminder of humanity's newfound leverage. On the Defiance, Chen received regular updates from Admiral Takahashi. The Valari, being the most pragmatic of the 3 species, had been the first to acknowledge the new reality. The Morcana, with their hive consciousness temporarily fragmented by human disruption technology, had followed. The Seleth, proud and ancient, were the last holdouts. "They're stalling," Lieutenant Okafor observed as the 18th hour approached, hoping for reinforcements or a technical solution to counter the Darkfold drive. Chen nodded. "They won't find one. The physics underlying our technology operates on principles their science doesn't recognize. It would be like trying to intercept radio waves when you don't understand electromagnetism." Finally, a transmission arrived from the combined consortium leadership, Not just Velphora, but representatives from all three species. The Valari diplomat, a shimmering mass of translucent gel contained in an environmental field, spoke first. We have reviewed your terms and find them acceptable, given the circumstances. The Morcana representative, a bipedal insectoid being serving as the physical manifestation of their collective consciousness, clicked its mandibles before adding, "A hive acknowledges humanity's unexpected advancement. We calculate mutual benefit from revised relations." All eyes turned to Velphora. The Seleth commander's crystalline form remained rigid for several moments before finally vibrating in acquiescence. "The consortium accepts your terms, under protest. This agreement is made under duress." "Noted," Chen replied. "But remember, Commander, we could have chosen destruction rather than negotiation. That's the difference you fail to understand about humans. We don't seek dominance. We seek respect." The agreement was formalized within days. As human ships withdrew to their assigned patrol sectors, the balance of power across three galaxies adjusted to a new reality, one where humanity sat at the table as equals, not as curiosities or primitives. 1 month later, Captain Chen stood in the United Nations Assembly Hall in Geneva as the formal treaty was signed. The consortium representatives, Valari, Seleth, and Morcana, no longer exuded condescension, as they had during their first appearance 15 years earlier. Admiral Takahashi, now appointed as humanity's first representative to the Consortium Council, addressed the Assembly after the signing. "Today marks not an end but a beginning," the Admiral said. "Humanity does not celebrate victory over the Consortium, but partnership with it. We have demonstrated that underestimating any species based on their apparent technological development is not only unwise but dangerous. The universe is vast, with room for many approaches to science, society, and progress." As the ceremony concluded, a Valari diplomat approached Chen privately. "There is a question that troubles the consortium leadership," the gelatinous being said, its translated voice carefully modulated. "The Darkfold drive, your quantum communications, the gravitational pulse weapons. These technologies seemingly appeared overnight. How is this possible? Your species was struggling with basic interplanetary travel just 15 years ago." Chen smiled. "We didn't develop these technologies after meeting the consortium. We developed them because we met the consortium. Your dismissal of our capabilities was the greatest motivation humanity has ever known." The Valari rippled in what might have been understanding. "And if we had approached Earth as equals from the beginning, then we would have gladly shared our unique perspectives, and perhaps both our civilizations would be further advanced than they are now," Chen replied. "That's the lesson the consortium should take from all this. Diversity of thought is the universe's greatest resource. By dismissing humanity as primitive, you didn't just insult us. You rob yourselves of our potential contributions." As Chen departed the assembly hall, he gazed up at the night sky. Humanity's 12 original ships had now been joined by dozens more, with construction underway for hundreds of additional vessels, not for war, but for exploration and protection, to ensure humanity would never again be at the mercy of those who underestimated them. Across 3 galaxies, the message had been received. Humans may be younger than many species, our technology may follow different principles, our methods may seem unconventional, but we are nobody's lesser. The patience humanity had shown wasn't weakness, it was calculation. And when that patience ran out, the universe learned what humans have always known about themselves. Backed into a corner, there's nothing more dangerous, or more innovative, than the human spirit. The galaxies had laughed at humanity as primitive. None were laughing now.